Now I've ordered a recap kit for this off of eBay. I've just ordered the basic 3 main caps which go in the mains end of the power supply. 9 times out of 10 that's what it is, although you can get 4 recap kits that will replace all of the electrolytics, but they all look pretty good to me. There's no leakage on any of them, so I'm going to hope that the 3 ones that normally go, replacing those, will do the job. Now before I start taking this apart, a good tip, basically whenever disassembling anything, is take a load of pictures. It takes minutes, a few minutes to take a few snaps of it, and then you've got a great reference when you come to put it all back together again. Now it's fairly obvious that in order to change out the capacitors here, we're going to have to remove the printed circuit board from the metal case. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut this tie wrap here. We've got to take this external power plug out. We've got to take the switch out and disconnect the mains cables here, and also there is this earth stud here which has to be undone and removed, and then hopefully we'll be able to take the PCB out of the case. So let's get on with it. Now it's actually easier to pull the switch out of the case first to remove the spade terminals than it is to try and pull them off, because there's no room inside. But there's a bit of length on these cables, so we'll do it that way. It's just a lot easier. Well, there's a PCB out of the case. Another point to note that I didn't realise until I got to taking it out, there is another earth strap here which is bolted onto this end of the case, so you need to remove that. This connector, which is the external power connector, it does, when you first look at it, it does look like it's supposed to come out through the front, but it isn't. It comes out that way. So be aware of that if you're stripping one of these down. Now I'm going to see if I can bring you in closer on the exploded capacitor. And there, as I think you can quite clearly see, is the massive crack running down that end and all the way across. You can just see the start of it there, but this is all totally broken. And that's where that's exploded. Let's come out a little tiny bit. This cap is another one which sometimes goes. It does appear to be okay, but it will get replaced anyway. And the other one in the cap kit is this one here. This is a little electrolytic, which again appears to be okay, but we're going to get the cap, so we'll replace it. So the next thing to do is get the old desoldering tool on it and take those out. Obviously, then I'll clean up any muck that's bled out of this capacitor. There will be some over the board. I'll clean all that up, and hopefully by tomorrow I should have the new bits for it. Well, the desoldering tool made short work of these, removing these capacitors. That was the main one that had blown there, which is C2. Fortunately, it hadn't put a lot of mess on the board, and that was fairly easy to clean up. C1 came out from there, and C9, which is that one, came out from there. So now all I've got to do is wait for the replacements to come. We'll pop those in, and hopefully we'll have a working power supply. These are the caps that I've taken out. This is C2, which as you can see is completely blown apart. This is C1, the other reefer, which once you get it out, you realise it's got cracks all over it underneath the outer plastic, and there's a big one, you probably can't see it, but it runs along the side there. So this is on its way, definitely. C9 seems to be fine. There's no leakage that I can tell, and there's no bulging, so that may well have been okay, but you know, we're going to get a new one, so we'll replace it anyway. So that's where we are at the moment. Basically, we're waiting for parts. Let's come back out again. And once we've got those caps, I'll stick them in, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we will have a working power supply. Now obviously I will power this up, make sure it doesn't go bang, and measure the voltages. I believe the BBC Micro has 5 volts, 12 volts and -5 volts. I'll have to check that. But anyway, I will check the outputs before I actually connect it up to the board. So that's where we are at the moment. So I've had a couple of things turn up for the BBC Micro. This is the most important one, which is the capacitor kit for recapping the power supply. It comes from Retro Clinic. I got it via eBay. And they do supply a very nice, well-documented instruction sheet telling you exactly what to do with pictures and everything. So that's really useful if you've not done this before. And this is a RGB SCART lead which will allow me to use the BBC Micro with any TV or monitor that's got RGB SCART input. Now, I fully intend to get a proper period CRT monitor to use with the BBC Micro, but for testing purposes, obviously I need to be able to display it on a screen, and that will allow me to do that. So yeah, so let's get on and get these caps fitted. There's a quick look at the caps. Those are the two caps, reefer caps we took out, and that was the electrolytic. That was the big reefer, the one that was blown to pieces, and that one had hairline cracks in it. So we'll get those in, and hopefully we'll have a working power supply. Okay, the moment of truth. I've got it all back together. I haven't turned it on yet, so I don't know whether it's going to go bang or not. I've got a couple of meters. This one is the +5, and that's the -5. The +12 only comes out on the auxiliary connector, but we'll check that after we've turned it on. I've got the switch on the power supply in the on position, and I'm going to turn it on from the mains over here. So here we go. Okay, well, no smoke. We don't appear to have any -5. Is that? Ah, it's all right, dodgy connection on the old meter there. So we've got +5 and -4.5. Well, that's good enough. So I've just got a dodgy connection here. Well, that's pretty damn good. So there's no smoke, and we're getting right voltages out of it. So I will check the +12, but for now, I think it's looking pretty good. Excellent. Looks like we fixed it. Well, it's all back together. Then it's time for the big switch on. Just before I put the cover back on, though, I wanted to say something about the reconnecting the wiring and everything. Now, I did say earlier on that it's a very good idea to take photographs, and I did before I disconnected any of these cables. But saying that, the BBC Micro motherboard is extremely well indicated on the board, all the ICs numbered and everything, and positions and everything, and so are the power pins, and they're actually marked 0 volt and then the VCC 1, 2 and 3, so you know which is 0 volts or ground and which is power when you put them back, even if you haven't taken any pictures, which is excellent. Really. So let's get the lid on and power it up. So for the test purposes, I've got my very old flat screen TV Wharfdale thing, which I got off of eBay years ago and has proved to be extremely useful. And the reason why it's extremely useful is it has every bloody video input under the sun. It's got HDMI, it's got VGA, it's got S-Video, it's got composite video, it's got SCART, it has also got tuner built into it, so it's got an aerial socket, it's got literally every it's got RGB, you've got absolutely everything on it that you could possibly want. So it's really useful for testing out, you know, old kit and everything. So right, so power's on. The BBC makes a particular beep type noise when it powers up, so let's see what it does. Yep, that's what it does. And there we go. Yes, amazing. It's working, and it's reading all 32K. Let's swing around onto the monitor, so hopefully you can see this. Ooh. There we go. And that is what we should have on the screen. Now, it hasn't got the disc interface built into it, otherwise it would have DFS up there or whatever form, but that is a crisp RGB picture, which is exactly what we want. Let's try the keyboard. Yeah, that's looking bloody good. Well, at the moment I have no way of loading or saving programs on this machine, but I've just typed in a very simple program just to check to see whether it'll do something, and as you can see, it's stunning. You see what you can do in BASIC? Yeah, that's mode 7, which is the teletext mode. It's very easy to manipulate the colours of the text in teletext and get it to flash. Well, it does appear to be working, which is the main thing. So it looks like the only problem really with it was the power supply. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other stuff to check out. Sometimes the interface chips can go that control the ports, so we need to try those. But the first thing I need to do is try and get myself a SD card solution for loading and saving programs. That would just make things so much easier. But so far, so good. I hope you've enjoyed the video on the BBC Micro. Thank you very much for watching. Cheers.